Behavior is, to me anyway, the key to global impact.
All right. Here, Framtiden is back. The Swedish interview podcast on future with an optimistic approach. I'm sitting here with Sille Krukow, founder and CEO of Krukow Behavioral Design, based in Copenhagen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're at Exponentials 2019, a conference by a company called Learnifier. So we're learning about learning today. Can you maybe briefly summarize what you talked about here today?
Yes, I talked about how nudge and behavior design can be sort of paving the way for change in the future and impact, especially on HR, in relation to HR, but also in relation to companies reaching purpose and impact, positive impact.
You talked about the brain as a clash between system 1 or 2. Can you explain what you meant by that?
So the basically of what we are up against when it comes to change, and especially behavior change, is that most of our decisions are driven by our surroundings in the moment of choice and not what we know is the right thing. But we don't really believe that yet. And a lot of companies still work with sort of an old school approach where they think if we just provide enough information and knowledge, people are going to change. But the brain is not like that. The brain is very bad at translating information into change. But it's very good at reacting to our surroundings and reacting to other people. So by acknowledging that and starting to implement different kind of solutions in our everyday lives, we can change behavior rapidly and effortless.
You talk about sort of hacking the system by using different nudging techniques like visual signs, for example. It always seems so easy after you sort of discovered how you can do it. What is the key to reaching success in these areas?
Well, to me or to us, the key anyway to reach success is to allow yourself to observe before you act and before you decide on a solution. As leaders and as companies, we are trained to come up with solutions really, really fast. So a lot of the times we just jump to conclusion on what is needed to facilitate change. But that also means that we miss the target. So to create efficient behavior change solutions, we have to start out by looking and learning from existing habits, understand how people around us behave currently and what actually influences their behavior on a daily basis, because then we can start adopting those strategies and translate them into other areas where they are going to be working just as well.
Yeah, you talk about providing a choice architecture.
Well, so basically everything that's around us is choice architecture. So it facilitates 90% of our everyday decisions. And just by becoming aware of that and starting to look at the existing choice architecture, we find the problems and the solutions in our surroundings. So by building good choice architecture, we can facilitate change rather than push for change with knowledge.
And do you think this could be applicable when it comes to, for example, eating habits and climate change, stuff like that?
We work a lot with both climate change and health and safety. And I mean, behavior is, to me anyway, the key to global impact. So if we really want to succeed with being climate friendly, it comes down to the everyday choices of choosing a cotton bag over a plastic bag, or vegetables over meat, or all the everyday choices that when put together and when added to 7 billion people creates a problem. So by attacking those challenges in partnerships with retailers and commercial brands, we can nudge consumers in different directions.
It also seems like simplifying is one key aspect. and also making it a bit fun. I mean, adding some sort of gamification layer to what kind of behavior you wish to achieve, right?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's a matter of gamification. The approach or the nudge principles that we use the most are feedback. So making sure that people get constant feedback on their improvements, which is also kind of a gamification. We use a social norm activation, so showing the right behavior instead of the wrong behavior. And also telling people what to do instead of telling them what not to do. And then we use reminders. A lot of the times when we don't see the correct behavior or the desired behavior, it's a matter of that we simply forget, because our everyday lives are complex. We have so many information we have to process, and if we are not reminded to do the right thing at the right moment, we forget.
You mentioned also in the Q&A session that we cannot only rely on the traditional classroom teaching strategies anymore, that we need to complement those with other initiatives. How could this work, for example, for a company that goes to a conference like this?
Well, of course, it's good to go to a conference like this. Should always do it. But you just have to know that if you don't support what you've learned with good choice architecture, you're going to fall back to your old habits. So you can be very motivated and then come back home, but the odds that you are going to change based on the new input that you got are only 10%, simply because of the structure of our brain. So if we want to facilitate a change based on knowledge, we have to sit down as soon as we come home and then realize what are the current barriers that's keeping me from succeeding with change. And then we systematically have to eliminate the barriers. Whether that is that it requires for me to talk to other people, or it requires for me to have a different work process and so forth. And then we have to design a new system for ourselves or our staff members. Otherwise, we are going to fall back to the old habits.
What's your background? How did you find yourself in this industry?
I have a master's in communication design from the Royal Danish Design School, but I spent 15 years with scientists within cognitive psychology and behavioral economics, looking at how do we use communication and design at facilitating change, rather than creating something beautiful. That's also cool, but it's just not me. So basically, trial and error. So I conducted all these different studies, tests, worked with all kind of industries on figuring out are there any universal behavior change principles that can be applied to Vietnam, to UK, to Italy, across markets and across barriers, and there are.
And it's also interesting with e-commerce that many actors think that providing an infinite range of choices is the perfect solution, while it actually is the complete opposite.
Yes, very much. If people are going to be successful, we have to structure a very simple highway or a user journey they have to go through. So we have to be very gentle with the amount of choices that we offer people, and make sure that the ones that we offer them, so reduce the amount of choices that we offer them, but make sure that they align with their basic intentions and ambitions, because then we are going to see happy customers, happy employees, and so forth.
And I mean, naturally, governments and municipalities, they know about these things and they use them in a certain way, but do you think that we could see more use cases for nudging and behavioral design in the society?
Definitely. I see a great potential in governments applying these approaches, because there are so many public services that are just hopeless. And based on information and based on knowledge, which is not very effective. But also for corporate companies. A lot of corporate companies are struggling on how to meet the global sustainability goals. And here the nudge approach is brilliant to create effective results that both fuel impact on behavior, but also business results. And I mean, that's important as well.
What's your best tip for making the world a better place in the future?
Start designing better choice architecture. That's going to create immediate impact, and it's not very costful.
Do you have a reading tip on this subject?
Yes, 3 books. The basic book is Thinking Fast and Slow by Kahneman. The next one is The Design of Everyday Life by Donald Norman. And of course, the Nudge book by Cass Sunstein and Richard Thaler.
Who do you think I should interview in the podcast?
Tony Robbins. He's like an American super rock star coach. But so the reason why I said him is because he's the only person where I've been to one of his events. It's like 14,000 people yelling and screaming at the same time, which is the most insane thing I have ever attended, but it really taught me something about myself.
Wow. Interesting. Tony Robbins. Yeah, just before we go, I remembered you said something. Maybe we can send this to the listeners, to be a tourist in your own organization and in your own life, to view things from outside and see how we can change and tweak things. Is that a correct way to interpret it?
Definitely. I mean, go on a field visit in your own organization, because we have no idea how staff members and everybody in our organization, how they view things, what kind of daily routines they have, and so forth. We go on field trips all the time, which is the best thing about being a behavioral designer, because you get insights into... Tomorrow I'm going to go and visit truck drivers to get their point of view on how it is to be safe on roads, for example. And that's the most enriching thing to do, that you get insights into other people's habits and lives.
Yeah, maybe we should do it in our own homes as well. Like, why aren't we eating more vegetables? Well, first of all, because they're in the bottom drawer that we never cared to open.
Fridge design is not very health-oriented. But we could also make sure that the default setting of our household is set to vegetables rather than candy and crisps and all these different, because that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. That's trial and error. Thank you so much, Sille Krukow, for joining Her Framtiden.
Thank you for having me.
Check out Krukow Behavioral Design in Copenhagen and herframtiden.se for more information about the podcast. My name is Christian van Essen. Thank you for listening.